York, classically trained chef. I did some apprenticeship out in Napa Valley. Moved back here. I've been a corporate chef and a private chef in Richmond until I started my company, Gunther's Gourmet, which y'all can figure out later. But we do bottle salsas and stuff like that. So I taught Peggy at U of R years ago in a class. She called up and wanted to do very similar class. We're going to do Avgolemono Soup. I am second generation Greek, so we will be doing Greek food. We'll do a Greek salad. And then we're going to, if we have time, a little bonus dish here. We're going to do a baked feta with local honey and sesame seeds. The honey is out of one of my hives. I raise bees, and I'll be teaching a bee class in July for Osher. So if you like this honey, you know, this is a nice carryover to that. That's why I thought we would do it. So the Avgolemono Soup, I think you all have the recipe on that. You make your own broth or stock. We started that about 2 hours ago, 2 quarts of that. I didn't think you wanted to sit here and watch me make stock. So we just added a chicken, 2 quarts of water, a little over 2 quarts of water because some will evaporate. And then we did our Mirepoix. And your Mirepoix is your flavoring agents. It's onion, celery, and carrot. And my ratio was always 50% onions, 25% celery, 25% carrots. Rough chop, just throw it in. I do cut off the ends. You put trash in your stock, you're going to get trashy stock. So I do put in the better part. I use the carrot skins, but I do wash them well. But I just did a rough chop, tossed it in there, and went to town. It's just been simmering for 2 hours, and we'll try to get a nice little look at this. Can you see that?
Yes.
Can you tell me? Okay. So it's just chicken.
Up a little bit. There you go, Mike.
All right. So it's just chicken stock. If you need to, you can, you know, buy stock if you don't feel like going through this whole process. But my grandmother would not be very happy if I used a store-bought stock. I did notice today, this is chicken stock. They have chicken broth, and the low sodium chicken broth has more sodium than the chicken stock does. So just be careful of your sodium intake when you do make things. There is no salt in here at all. So that's just going to simmer for a bit, and we're going to get started on the baked feta, I think, because that's going to take a little while to cook. Now what you're going to need is phyllo dough. I buy my phyllo dough at Nick's Produce here in town. I don't have any, I mean, I know the guy, but I don't get paid to tell you this. I suggest you buy it at an ethnic store or a Mediterranean store. If you buy this in the grocery store, say Kroger's or Publix or Food Line or wherever you shop, it usually sits in the freezer for months. And by the time you open it, it just crumbles and falls apart. It's not good. One of your Mediterranean stores, they roll through it, so you're going to get much fresher phyllo dough. So what you're going to need is your phyllo. You're going to need feta. That's a block of feta, all right? Again, Nick's Produce. I get an 8-pound tub. Everybody in my family always has an 8-pound tub in their fridge. Comes like this. We're going to need big chunks of feta, and it comes in this tub right here. So everybody in my family has a garage fridge. Everyone has one of these in their garage. Feta, phyllo, you're going to need some clarified butter, which is also known as ghee. This is just clarified butter. It's just melted butter, and you take the milk solids out. When you take the milk solids out, it has a higher smoking point. And if you were to cook your eggs in this, you're not going to get those brown marks on your egg. You'll get a nice golden omelet because the milk solids aren't burning onto the egg. So you'll need the phyllo, the feta, the honey, sesame seeds, and that's it. So we have a phyllo opened here, and we're gonna butter 4 layers of feta, and every layer is buttered. And you're gonna notice we go through a lot of butter when we make Greek food. How's that for a look? Can you all see the cutting board?
That's perfect, Mike. There's a question. Specifically, what kind of feta do you buy in that white tub with the blue label?
It's domestic. It's cow's milk. Can you see that?
Yes.
That's domestic. That's cow's milk. And this is imported. This is sheep's milk, goat's milk. Going to be softer, creamier, but the domestic is pretty good. It's going to be more of a flavor that you're used to that you get in a store. This one's going to have a much harsher flavor, not harsher, but more sharp flavor because it is from a milk that you're not usually drinking. So this is sheep's milk. This is cow's milk. This is domestic. And that's what's in the big tub right there. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So as you can see, you're going to get a little bit of tears and rips on this here and again. That's okay. But as you see, it laid out pretty nicely. We're going to butter and just butter. And when you make baklava, you do this between 16 layers, and then baklava is about 32 layers of phyllo and butter. So it takes a while to get things done, and that's why baklava costs so much money. All right, so we're going to do this 4 times, and this will make 2 baked fetas. So if you have any questions, let me know. Greek food does take a while to make, so I don't want to bore you by watching me do this 4 times, but I didn't want to have it pre-done because I think it's important for you to see that it is a time-consuming process. And you can just put them together because we're going to be folding them over on top of each other. And this couldn't be simpler. I say that I started a new YouTube cooking channel, Cooking with Gunther's Gourmet. I released this recipe today on there. So if you know YouTube, go to that. But apparently, and I get in trouble from my family, my girlfriend, from saying this couldn't be simpler. Apparently it's simple for me because I cook for a living. It might not be as simple for you, but just take your time and get good phyllo, and you're going to be all right. Now, when you do open a box of phyllo, you kind of have to use the whole box of phyllo that day. It doesn't really keep well once opened. So make sure that you're going to make a lot of these, or you're going to make spanakopita or turopita or baklava or something of that nature, because you want to go through all your phyllo. This won't really keep that well until the next day. Even if you wrap it back up, it tends to fall apart. And as we're getting into this, these sheets are becoming much nicer. So that should be 4 layers. It might be 5. I lost count, but the world keeps spinning and we're going to be okay.
Mike, salted or unsalted butter?
I always use unsalted butter for everything.
Perfect. Thank you.
You can always add salt. You can't take it out. Plus, if you're not going to use feta, you can use saganaki in here. That'll be a little bit creamier. I'm just trying to cross-utilize products. We have feta. We're going to use feta, and I'm gonna wrap this back up as well as I can. I'm going to wrap it back up in a towel, and I'm going to put it in the fridge so it doesn't dry out too much. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut this in half. And we're going to make 2. So if you'll notice, this is another little thing. I always put a wet paper towel down. It keeps your cutting board from sliding. It's a nice little trick. So here's your feta. Is that in the picture?
Yes, it's good.
And I'll bring these back. All right. And again, We're gonna wrap this and we're gonna butter it. We're gonna wrap it and we're gonna butter it. Fold the ends over, tuck it in best you can. That's gonna be the bottom. We're gonna put it on a sizzle plate and we're gonna butter it. And we'll do the same thing to this one.
What if you don't have a sizzle plate, Mike? What can you use instead?
All right. Well, I'm going to show you right now because the sizzle plate isn't big enough for both of these. Sheet pan. Sheet tray will be just fine. These are great. I get them at Restaurant Depot. You're cooking a steak and you need to finish it off in the oven. Those things are what almost all of your food touches when it comes out of a professional kitchen. So I have the oven already heated to 375. I'm just trying to clean that up a bit to make it look nicer. And we're just going to pop it in. Sorry, I probably should have shown you all that. That's it. It can't be simpler. And if you have any questions, let me know. We're just going to pop it in the oven. About 15 minutes at 375.
So, Mike, how would you define how much feta is used for each of those? I saw the slice, but 8 ounces, 6 ounces?
Yeah, it's probably closer to 6 ounces. It's as fat as you want it, to be honest with you. If you want a giant chunk, put a giant chunk in there. And all you need to do is not cut the phyllo in half and just use the whole thing and we can bake the whole thing. I think for feta though, it should be about a 1/4 inch to not more than a 1/2 inch thick, because then once you get by there, feta doesn't melt and become gooey like a mozzarella or a saganaki. So you don't want it to be too thick. And feta has a strong flavor. So, you know, it's going to be a little bit pungent when you bite into it, but it's going to be good. Like I said, I just made this the other day. It was delicious. So any questions on that? That's just kind of a bonus thing. It wasn't in your syllabus, but I don't know if you really need a syllabus on how to make that. And again, if you do, you know, you can always go online and look on our YouTube channel to figure out how to make that. So let's get into the class now. Do you want to do Peggy? All I see is Peggy on the screen. How you doing?
I wish you could fix that and get me off your screen, Mike.
I'd rather look at you than me.
No. You said 350 for the feta?
I've got it at 375. I want it nice and golden brown. I did set a timer for 15 minutes. You can always cook things longer. You can't uncook it. And since I'm talking to you and not focusing or concentrating, I'm going to have timers. I'm going to have beepers. And if one of you wants to pipe in and say, hey, you forgot something, you know, we'll go do that. I'm going to strain the stock now. And I just have, it measures out 2 quarts, and I have a strainer. I'm just going to strain into here and put it in a smaller bowl. So that's just going to take 1 second, and I'll show you what the stock looks like. And we saved the chicken. And the reason I called it a hand in your thing is because back in the old days, you would use an old, can you see that, Peggy? You would use an older bird to do this. You don't want to take a good bird. You know, you would use an older bird and just boil it because the meat on an older bird is not quite as good. So that's why you call it a hen. But I'm just going to strain this through the chinois.
And yes, Mike, we could see it.
All right. And that is 2 quarts of chicken stock. So it's actually more of a broth than a stock. A stock, once you chill a stock, it's going to become gelatinous and almost like a jello, and that's from the bones and the marrow that comes out of what comes out of there. So we have the 2 quarts of chicken stock. I'm going to use a more of a shallow pan this time. We have 3/4 of a cup of rice, and I've never cooked on Zoom before and try to do this. So if you all have any questions, you can't see anything, just let me know. I mean, I'm learning with you as well. And I don't want to go too fast. If you have questions, just pipe in. So we're going to put the rice in here with the 2 quarts of chicken stock. And we're going to bring it to a boil. And the thing about this, what you're going to learn how to do is temper. I think I mentioned that in your syllabus. Is tempering, is bringing the temperature of your eggs to the same temperature of your soup. You don't want to put cold eggs into hot soup, then you scramble it, which you've basically made egg drop soup. So if you just add a little sesame oil, you're going to be okay. But we want to thicken it with the eggs. And you want to separate the eggs in 2 separate cups. And here's another little secret. Whenever you're cracking eggs, crack them on the board and not on the side. When you crack it on the side here, you tend to shove shells up in there and you get shells in your separated eggs. So we're going to go ahead and separate 3 eggs. It's okay to have white in the yolks, but not yolks in the white. Once you get yolks into the white, it won't stiffen to thick peas. So I just broke that yolk, telling you exactly what not to do. I just did it. So we have the separated eggs, the separated yolks. And because I was afraid I was going to break a yolk into my white, I went ahead and did it earlier and make sure that I don't have it. Normally, you wouldn't see me make mistakes, but I figured, you know, it's okay. We would just edit that out, but since we're live, it's okay. And what we're going to do now is, can you see the mixing bowl, Peggy?
Yes.
All right. So we're just going to whip these to soft peaks. We'll add the yolks one at a time, and then we will add in lemon juice. The juice of 2 lemons. Here's the thing with kitchen tools. Watch your chef, watch your bartender, watch your cooks. Find out what they use. And save yourself the headache. Most of us have one of these at the house to get your juice out. Kind of bulky, kind of crazy, kind of hard to deal with. Most bartenders use this. This is just a couple of bucks at TJ Maxx or one of those discount stores. 10 times better, 10 times easier, 10 times easier to clean. And look at the amount of lemon juice you get out of there, and it's easy to do. So find out what your chef uses, what your bartender uses, and then use that equipment because they generally tend to know what works best, what works quicker. And that's the end of that. Knock some of your seeds out, and you're going to get a whole lot more lemon juice out of this with a whole lot less effort than that other piece of equipment I showed you. Is everybody up to speed? Are we okay, Peggy?
Yeah, you still got some questions about the feta, but
okay. What about the feta?
One question is, how do you present it? But I guess you'll show us that when it's finished cooking.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
Okay, we'll hold on that one. And then the other question is, are Sizzle plates aluminum?
I think so. I've never asked that. And the funny thing is I've never asked. I think a magnet does not stick to it. So I think it is aluminum. Funny thing is, I used to be Reynolds Metal chef over here on Broad Street. I point to here like you know what I'm talking about. Over here on Broad Street, I was Reynolds Metal's private chef in their executive dining room. I should know my aluminum, but I don't. Anyway, we're gonna whip these to soft peaks. And that's gonna be a little bit loud, so we're gonna do that. And we're going to turn the stock down because it is boiling. And part of it today is a little bit of hurry up and wait. But yeah, we'll do a whole plate presentation. We'll do the baked feta, we'll do the salad, and we'll do the soup, and we'll do nice plate presentations for everything. Always clean as you go.
So Mike, do the lemons have to be, the lemons and the eggs have to be at room temp when you use them, or does it matter?
It's a good question. I usually have it all at room temperature, because you're going to want to temper this with the stock in the back, so you don't want to have to bring it up but so much. But that's a soft peak right there. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
But yeah, I bring everything to room temperature, butter and everything. So that is a soft peak. Now you don't want to do it too much or you're going to have meringue. So we're going to put this back on. We're going to add a yolk one at a time, then the lemons, and I'll show you how to temper.
Somebody put in the chat line, Mike, could you please teach my husband to clean as you go?
Oh, yeah. I have actually gotten rid of people in the kitchen because they're messy. I just can't stand it. If you work in a messy kitchen, you got a kind of a messy final product. This kind of bothers me here today because I am kind of not cleaning as I go, because y'all don't need to pay money to watch me clean. So here we go now. We're going to scrape the sides. We'll add the lemon juice little by little. All right.
We can see it.
Well, and again, I apologize. I've never cooked a Zoom class before, so I want to make sure you can see everything. Usually we're all together in the same room, and I like to do a little bit of hands-on stuff. But again, this is a little bit new for me as well.
You're doing great. We can see it all.
I'm just going to slowly drizzle the lemon juice in there. I'm going to hold back a little. That seemed like an awful lot of lemon juice for me. Again, it is a lemon soup. Avgolemono is lemon rice soup. So we're going to temper it now. And I'm going to have to turn my back on you a little bit because I want to show you how I do it. It's kind of in the ribbon stage. It'll leave a like a little ribbon in the egg whites. So what I'm going to do, and the reason I'm doing it in the mixing bowl is I'm one person. I don't want to have to use a ladle and stir and whip at the same time. I can just do it all in here. And I'm going to get myself a nice size ladle. And you want to bring this to the temperature of your stock. And I'm going to skim off the top so I don't get rice in here. And we'll do about 4 or 5 ladles. I think these ladles are 4 ounces each. And it's a slow process. You don't need to rush it.
So you've got the mixer on a fairly low speed? 4, okay.
4. All right, that was the timer. And we are not done on these yet. So we're going to put them back in for a little bit more time. Not even starting to brown yet. So we have plenty of time on that. We'll put that in for another 10 minutes. And once you start tempering, keep it going, keep the thing running, don't stop. And when I'm doing this, I probably over temper.
That was the next question. When do you know when enough of the stock in the mixer is enough?
We'll take a little sample. And we'll feel the temperature of the stock in the mixing bowl. It's almost to the temperature. I would rather you mess up by slowly doing this too long than not having this hot enough and putting it in here and having it scramble. So this is at a good warm temperature right now. We're just going to do one more and then we'll add it back just to make sure. And as the temperature in this rises,
and Mike, another question. The rice was just uncooked rice, right?
correct.
Yeah, okay.
So we're cooking the rice in the stock. You're going to get the flavor from the stock into the rice. And you have so much stock in there with such little rice that the rice will not absorb it all. A normal white rice, I think, is it a 2-to-1 ratio? 2 parts white rice, 1 part, 2 parts water, 1 part rice. That's your normal ratio. This is about a 15-to-1. So the rice is being cooked in there, and we can go ahead and it still has a little bit to go. It's a nice chicken flavor. Notice I haven't salted it yet. So we need to do that a little bit.
Could you use brown rice, Mike?
No. No.
Okay.
Brown rice is actually a grass. It's not a rice. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. You cook brown rice in the water and it blooms and it splits. And then you have to drain the water out and and then, you know, you use the brown rice that way. It is technically a grass. And I say no because if my grandmother were alive today, she would smack me if I use brown rice in there. So yeah, we're not going to do that. Okay. But the other thing is you can feel this bowl. The bottom of this bowl now is super hot. It is very hot. Is that too much down?
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at right now. And we're going to slowly add it back into here. We're going to bring it to a slow boil.
Flip us back up, Mike.
Do what?
Flip the computer back up so we can see you. Oh, there you go.
And Mike, every time she speaks, you need to speak to get the screen back to you.
Okay. And that smells wonderful. And we're just going to do this until thickened. And the hard part about these glass top stoves is once you turn it down, the stove still remains hot. We'll slide it off and put it on a different burner at a lower temperature, but we're just going to keep doing this. It smells great. You can smell the lemon.
I can't smell the lemon.
Well, I can only have like 10 people in the kitchen at a time, so I couldn't invite the whole class. Sorry. I mean, that smells great. We're going to go ahead and turn it down a little bit, and we're going to get started on the next item. We're just going to let that simmer. You don't want it to boil. You don't want it to bring it back up to a boil because then you will scramble the eggs. Now I'm flipping the cutting board over because the other side had the eggs on it. So, all right, we're going to do a quick Greek salad. What you'll notice about Greek salad is there's no lettuce in an actual Greek salad. So what I've done is gotten our mise en place together. Mise en place means everything. You have cucumbers. I don't like the skin on cucumbers, and I don't like the seeds. So I peel them, cut them long ways, and I scoop it out with a knife. We've got some nice tomatoes. I always suggest you go to your local farmer's market. Grab a tomato that is not perfect. It has creases in it. You know, a nice Hanover tomato. We have red onion. We have lemon for the dressing. Olives. I always buy my olives with pits in them. And then I just, almost like a mango, cut the pit out, because if you buy them unpitted and you don't eat them immediately, they tend to get really soft. Pepperoncinis, again, and then some sardines. Anchovies, I'm sorry. I got this all at Nick's Produce. He has the big bins. He scoops it out. It's not in a jar. It's not been processed. You know, it's not been pasteurized and stuff like that. So it's just a nicer quality thing, but always get yourself nice, big, plump calamatas. And we're going to make the salad right in the bowl that we're using. And we're going to make the dressing in that same bowl. I hate green peppers. People use them, people don't use them. If you don't like something, don't use it. If you want me to use it, Peggy, I'll use them. But I'll just show you how to use a green pepper. And here's another thing about, we're going to kind of take a sidebar here, is knives. I suggest you get a 6 to 8 inch knives. Can you see these knives, Peggy?
Yes, we can.
All right. 6 to 8 inch knife. You don't need much bigger because it's a little too hard to wield. That's a little bit too big for the normal hand. I like them riveted or whole. I don't like my knife, and I have one right here, to slide in. That will eventually break and slide. If it's riveted, it holds together better. This is called the tang down here. I like a thicker tang. This is the knife I got when I started culinary school. It has been sharpened so many times that it's a third of the knife it used to be. And this is a birthday gift this past year. This is really nice, but it's light. But it does keep an edge. And but find a knife that you're comfortable with the weight. And when you hold a knife, you don't hold it here, you don't hold it there, you don't do this. You grab it up here by the tang, and you have your hand on the blade. And then when you cut things, you don't have your fingers all over the place. Curve your fingers, and you run your knife down your finger. So you can't, if you can see that, you can't cut yourself. And let the knife do it. The knife is made to slice. So long slices. And as you move your finger back. You move your finger back. You move your finger back. And then you have nice slices. And they're even. Don't have your fingers here, just curve them. And you can do that. It makes for a more pleasant life, and less cutting off your fingernails. So, well, we have the onions now for the salad. And a Greek salad's big and hearty, so we want big chunks. We want big mouthfuls, but you don't want it so big that it won't fit on a fork and it won't fit in your mouth. So this is a peeled and seeded cucumber. Here's another thing. And I'm just going to tell you things that I know. So when you cut things, don't take the blade of your knife and slide it over. Flip it over and slide it that way. Every time you do that with the blade of your knife, you're dulling your knife. If you flip the knife over, it takes 1/2 of a second. Your knife's going to last a lot longer. The sharpness of your knife will be a lot longer, and you'll be happier. A sharp knife is a good knife. And if you do cut yourself with a sharp knife, it heals quicker because it's a nicer, cleaner wound. See how I've got my fingers and I'm just moving them back, and everything's very similar in size. I think this just beat. We're starting to come together quite nice. We'll put it in for another 3 to 5 minutes. All right. And as a side thing, I've got to take a step back because I forgot to do this for you guys. All right. Peggy wanted garlic bread. I forgot to make the garlic bread. So again, we're going to use the knife that's right for bread. That's going to be a serrated knife. Let the knife cut. Don't use this and don't jam it through. You just smash it. Don't stick your fingers into the knife. Just hold it. I mean, the bread, just hold it. Let the knife cut. And if your fingers are out of the way, you're not going to cut yourself. So we have a nice piece of bread. Now, I took some of the clarified butter and just put chopped garlic in there. It's going to be so much better than garlic powder or fresh garlic. This is roasted garlic. And we're just going to stick this on there. That is going to be your garlic bread. I don't know if anybody's complaining about the amount of butter we used, but don't watch me. Do I?
Not a word, not a word, Mike, not a word.
Don't watch me make baklava or galakabuduku or anything else like that nature. So we're just going to put the bread in there.
Mike, where can you get a good knife sharpened?
You know, probably at like Sur La Table or somewhere like that. They'll charge like $1 an inch or something like that. Get yourself a steel. And every time you, before and after you use your knife, run your steel. It's at a 22-degree angle. If you have a knife, you use your knife. Don't let other people use your knife, because when they do this, they'll do it at a different angle. This is done to keep your knife sharp. It's not going to sharpen your knife. It gets rid of the burrs on the side of the knife. It'll keep your knife sharper longer. Eventually, you will have to sharpen your knife. I wasn't prepared for this, Peggy. And you get yourself a nice stone. You'll put a little vegetable oil on there, and then you're going to go through that. If you don't want to go through all that, I think places like Sur La Table, your local kitchen store, will have a knife sharpening.
We did, somebody just put that, of course, Sur La Table closed over at Stony Point, but there is a vendor at St. Stephen's Farmers Market occasionally who will sharpen knives.
Is that just up the road on Grove and
Correct.
And then this is a Chef's Choice knife sharpener, but I will tell you, these electric sharpeners, they eat your knives. Look how small the blade is on that knife. It's a 30-year-old knife, but I mean, we have lost, it's like erosion. We have lost so much of that blade. And now that the blade is shorter, my knuckles hit the cutting board when I'm cutting. So nice little sidebar, and thank you for the advice on where to get it done there. But always do this before and after each knife use. Kind of keep your own knives. I have a cutting block over here of knives that anybody can use. This drawer here, nobody's allowed in this drawer. If you're in this drawer, you're going to get slapped. That's my drawer. The knives over there are, I think, Chicago cutlery. I suggest like a Henkel or a Wusthof. You're going to be good. All right. So sorry about that sidebar. Let's get back to the salad. We have the cucumbers. We have the onions in there. I have gone ahead and sliced some olives. We're going to throw those in there. And I'm a big olive fan. We're going to throw a couple of pepperoncinis in there. If you want a green pepper, we'll do a little bit of green pepper. This has been washed. All the produce here today has been washed. I always do this. And then when I'm done, I'll pick at the rest and save, but for time's sake, we won't. This is called the pith. It's the white part. Take that out. And I will tell you, in hot peppers, that is where your heat is. Your heat is in the pith and the seeds. So if you have a jalapeno and you want the jalapeno flavor without all the heat, take the pith out, take the seeds out, and it will reduce the heat of your, your pepper. That being said, when you work with hot peppers, use a glove, because once you're done and you touch your eyes or any other part of yourself, it's going to burn. So we just want nice big chunks of green peppers. And you see how I'm just letting the knife do it. And I always have the skin side down when I cut a pepper. It's harder to go through that skin from the top. It's easier to go through from the soft side first. So that's starting to come together quite nicely. I've taken the core out of this, and all I did was take a paring knife, took the core out. And this isn't the best time of year for tomatoes, but these are starting to look kind of good. We're going to go ahead, wedge them. Nice big chunks. Cut them in thirds. And just as another note, I always try to do the cleaner stuff on the cutting board first, the onion, the the peppers and all that, because this makes a mess and you're gonna have to clean up in between each go. I think it's gonna need a little bit more tomato, so we'll just do another tomato. And by the way, as to kitchen tools, you don't need every kitchen tool that's out there. You don't need a tomato core. You don't need an apple core. You don't need a, this is an asparagus server that I got 25 years ago from my mom for Christmas. It's still in the plastic. You have hands, you have a tong, you don't need an asparagus server. It's not even good to discipline a dog with. I mean, I don't even know why I have it. It's just my mom gave it to me, so I can't throw it away. But, you know, all you need is a boning knife. You need a chef knife, and you need a paring knife and a zest and a peeler. And you can pretty much do any job you need with just those things. You don't need to get all that other stuff. While it looks good at Sur La Table, and I didn't know they closed, or what is that, Williams Sonoma, it's unnecessary most often.
So Mike, on this recipe, you're sort of, you said to taste, so it's really whatever amounts of.
Yeah, if you don't like green peppers, don't put them in there. If you don't, you know, add what you want. By the way, this is starting to look good. We're going to let it sit for a second. The whole thing about cooking and recipes, they're nice guidelines. If you're baking, follow the recipe, because that's more of a science that has been figured out on how much yeast you need to make the bread rise. If you're cooking, the beauty about cooking is just what comes out of your head. How creative are you? What do you like? I don't like red onions. Don't put red onions in here. I mean, it comes down to that, is what do you like, what do you don't like, and we can use it. So if you want a whole ton of cucumbers and you want the skin and seeds in there, put the skin and seeds in there. I'm here alone today with my dog. I have to eat this tonight for dinner. I'm gonna make what I like. And quite frankly, I'm gonna be picking out green peppers. I did those because that's part of what makes this dish, you know, a traditional Greek salad. Can you see that, Peggy?
Yes, you can pull up a little bit. That's better.
That is a big, hearty, delicious salad. So we're gonna make the dressing in the bowl. I always just keep a salt cellar. We're gonna do a little bit of salt, not a whole ton, because feta is salty. I like black pepper, so I'm gonna use a little bit of extra black pepper in there. This is oregano. It's dried oregano. If you have fresh, use fresh. And while I'm back here, I'm giving the soup a little stir, and I'm turning it down a little bit. So we're just gonna hit it with a little bit of olive oil. If you're gonna make a vinaigrette, it's a 3-to-1 ratio of oil to your acid. Now, when it comes to the acid for this, some people like red wine vinegar. I prefer lemon juice. So we're gonna make it right in the bowl.
So Mike, a true Greek salad would not have anything else like beans or other things, and really no other herbs. That's what I thought.
The only other thing people would put in here is mint. So I mean, you can see how much lemon juice is coming out of this thing, and that's it. We're done. But no, this is pretty much your traditional Greek salad.
Are you picky about the type of salt you buy?
I use kosher. I don't use iodine salt. I have a whole bunch of different salts. I have the pink Himalayan and all that. And quite frankly, I don't know if I know how to use it all properly. A good kosher salt is what you need. So we have the Greek salad.
Are you putting feta in it?
And this is the way we do feta in a Greek salad. Is that in the picture?
Perfect.
So to answer your question, yes, we are putting feta in it. But we don't put feta in it like you put feta in it. I'm going to turn the oven off and let that bread sit in there for a bit. So for presentation, big, colorful, beautiful salad. I don't know if you can see, but since we put the olive oil, can you see the dressing is made at the bottom there?
Yes, just barely. There we go.
There's a lot of dressing. It makes itself, it marinates in there. We want some olives in there. We want tomatoes. We want a little bit of onion. We want color. We want this thing to be big and yummy looking. That's a little black pepper, a little oregano. I don't think it needs any more salt because you have the salt in there. How does that look for a salad?
Terrific.
Again, some people use red wine vinegar. I don't like it. I like the freshness of a lemon better, but you can use either, or you can use a combination of both. But as a Greek salad goes, that's the way you're going to get a Greek salad. When you're down in the Peloponnese, you're sitting on the ocean, you know, right next to the ocean, you ask for a Greek salad, you're getting this. You're not getting lettuce. You're not getting those black olives with the holes in it. You get it at your little pizza parlor. You're not getting any of that. That is a Greek salad. How does that look, Peggy?
Delicious to me. It looks great.
So that's step one of our dinner. I'm going to go ahead and try the soup, make sure it doesn't need anything else. Oh, that's good. It's good. It's got a lot of lemon to it. It's got a nice kick to it. I'm sure the rice is done. I want to show you this and show you how creamy it is and not scrambled. Is that in the picture, Peggy?
Yes, it is.
Do you see how creamy that is? And not scrambled. The rice is done. And that's what the tempering did. You use your eggs to thicken this. If we just dumped the eggs in there, they would set immediately and it would be more like an egg drop soup. So we have a nice bowl. A little bit of garlic bread. Again, we're going to use the proper knife for the proper tool. It's killing me that I cannot clean up in between every dish.
Tilt it up just a tiny bit, Mike. There we go. Perfect.
I hit it with a little bit of black pepper. So that's your Avgolemono soup, your garlic bread, and your Greek salad. Next, we'll plate the we'll plate the baked feta. So obviously I'm going to get the better looking of the two. Now, my dog is in the background. He's getting ready to start barking. If you can see this, and we're going to use honey from my mother's hive in Roanoke. I have separate hives, as I said. Everybody has a name to their hive, and they all have a different color, consistency, and flavor. This is a 2020 hive, and look how light it is. It was not a very good honey, but then again, apparently 2020 wasn't a very good year. So we have that. We're just going to get a spoon. I don't know if you can see that honey, but it is completely different than mass-produced honey. We're going to hit it with a little bit of sesame seeds. And there's your baked feta with honey, sesame seeds, Avgolemono soup, garlic bread, and a Greek salad. Is that all in the picture, Peggy?
Oh, yes, it is. So for the baked feta, you would just serve it and people would take small pieces of it and eat with a fork. I mean, it doesn't go on a cracker or anything.
You can use, I think in the video that I did for YouTube, I used car crackers, but yeah, or I was just thinking we could just use the garlic bread we have. But I'm going to go ahead and get a cheaper knife.
And Mike, are the sesame seeds toasted or no?
They are not.
Okay.
They are not. I just didn't toast them. That's going to add a different level of flavor to it. I don't know how well toasted sesame seeds is going to taste with the honey. But I'm going to cut this open if that's okay with you to show you what it looks like. Now, this is a cheap knife. I don't mind using it on
Yep, we can see it.
All right, so there is a nice afternoon Greek lunch. And what we'll serve it with is red Cena. This is a Greek wine. It's a traditional Greek wine. It's a lot better than it used to be 3,000 years ago. The difference with this is it's aged in barrels and they use pine resin. So you're going to get a very sharp flavor on this. Now, these days, because we don't need, they use the pine resin to keep the barrels from leaking and all that stuff. And I put a little bit of a history in the thing. I'm not a sommelier. I don't know as much about wine as I probably should, but it's a lot less harsh than it used to be. It used to be like drinking turpentine. But this makes for a nice, refreshing side to your Greek dish. Is it all in there?
Yep, it's beautiful.
Is that okay? Does everybody have any questions? Everybody understand?
Looks great. I'm not
what did we do with the anchovies?
Excuse me?
What did we do with the anchovies?
Oh, good point. I don't like anchovies, so I forgot to put them on. Can you see that? Again, this is my dinner, and I'm not a big anchovy fan, so I didn't put them on there. But sorry about that. But yeah, we just crisscross them across the top, and that's good. And if you don't like anchovies, leave them off. I like anchovies when they're a little bit, they're mushed up, they're mixed in. If you could, like in a Caesar salad. I'm really not a big fan of anchovies like this. I think it goes back to college at U of R. My roommate would always get his half of the pizza with anchovies, and it ruined the rest of the pizza. So it's just one of those things. I'm just not an anchovy fan. What else, guys? Is everything okay? I'm going to start drinking wine, by the way.
Yeah. So should the wine be chilled?
Wine is chilled.
Okay.
And again, I bought this at Nick's Produce. And again, I'm not really trying to make a sales pitch for that guy. It's just where I go. I know right down behind me on Quioccasin, like you all know where I live, but on Quioccasin, there's a Mediterranean bakery. He's got great stuff as well. Go to your local store. You're not going to get a better price or a better deal. If you want Indian food, don't go to Publix to the Indian section. Go to one of the Indian markets. Go to one of the Asian markets. Go to the Greek market. Go to the Mediterranean market. There's a lot there, and it's going to add a lot of flavor to your meal. And you're supporting local too.
Got it. A couple specific questions. Were you at the CIA when Chef Mark Ainsworth was there?
Chef Ainsworth?
Correct.
It doesn't ring a bell. I was there in 90 and 91, and then I was out in California for part of that time doing my apprenticeship. His name does not ring a bell. Hold on a second. You can ask more questions. I have a dog in the back room that's mouthing off. So I'm trying to throw him some treats. He's 13. He goes for his walk at this time of the day, and he's deaf, so he doesn't know that he's making a lot of noise.
We understand. There are a lot of dog people out there on this call as well, so we get it.
My company is named after my last dog, Gunther. So that's, I am a dog guy. That's where the name Gunther's came from. So I named it after my dog, and we do fundraising for non-kill animal shelters.
Mike, there's another question that is how to use halloumi cheese. Halloumi cheese.
Halloumi. It's a harder white cheese from what I recall. It does melt well. But if you want a nice melty cheese, it's a saganaki. You want to get the saganaki. You could do this dish. You could do this dish with saganaki better, but I'm not as familiar with halloumi cheese, so I'm not going to give you a long answer on that. I do feta. I do saganaki.
Somebody wants to know where you live, Mike. They're coming for lunch.
That's one thing with this YouTube channel and doing these things. My neighbors all know when I'm doing it. They just wait at the front door for leftovers. So you know, you gotta. I'm not that hard to find. I'm all over the internet with the company and stuff, and you got to put up with my dog and a lot of. He's a boxer, so there's a lot of drool involved here. So, you know, but yeah, I wish Peggy knows when we used to teach classes together, you know, I got people involved. I got people to use the phyllo. I got people to butter. I got people to wrap, and I got people to eat too, because it does make this a lot more fun. So I'm sorry that you can't try it. But I think these are easy enough for you to make at home. And I don't know who's on the screen right now, but your kitchen pots are fantastic.
Okay. So, Mike, can we, I'm going to stop. I'm going to remove the pin on you, and then I'm going to go to gallery view so we can see everybody. And you all may do the same if you wish. Remember, it is being recorded. So if you don't want your face to show, just go dark on us. There is a question. Where do you purchase the clarified butter, the ghee?
Oh, you make it yourself. Just get a. I know this is actually my house, so I have a lot of kitchen stuff here. Get like a double boiler, or make yourself a double boiler. have a pan and put this in it in water. And so it doesn't touch the bottom. Use like a ball lid and just put your butter in there and let it sit in simmering water, very slow simmering water for hours. It'll pop. The butter will pop, and a lot of the milk solids will sink to the bottom and to the top. Some will float. Skim the stuff off the top, take what's in the center, and that's your clarified butter. Then throw the very bottom will be a milky layer or something you want to get rid of, and you want to get rid of the stuff on top. And I made 3 or 4 pounds of it. I keep it in here and I just grab it as I need it. Now, when I'm done with this clarified butter from today, I'll pour it back in here. It will be a different color, but that's okay. I mean, it's worth its weight in gold here. But yeah, there's the clarified butter. You just make it yourself. I'm sure you can buy it. I'm sure it's going to cost you 5 times as much as regular butter and doing it on yourself. So if you can go somewhere and just get the pound blocks of butter, put a pound or 2 of butter in here, it'll separate. Stick it in here. I made this 2 months ago, so it'll last you a while.
All right, other questions?
The Avgolemono soup is excellent, if I don't say so myself. I don't think the last time I made it was when I taught Peggy how to make it 20 years ago. Since my grandparents have passed, we haven't had this, and it's not something you're going to get at the Greek festival because it does kind of need to be made and eaten in one day, because you heating it back up, you're going to pop the eggs and it's going to separate, and you'll have eggs floating on the top and then the chicken stock. But this is good. This takes me back to my grandmother being a kid. Also, Peggy and I were talking the other day. There's no chicken in here. We don't pick the chicken. We didn't put chicken in here. It's just a lemon rice soup and pepper. And that's the way it should be.
All right. So when you go to the Greek festival, do you get this sort of wine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll have Red Cena at the Greek festival. Now, the Greek festival was canceled this year here in Richmond. I will tell you, and again, I make, you know, I know the people, but I make no money off telling you this. If you want Greek food, Stella and the Fan is the place to go. That is by far the best Greek food around. The other thing, like I didn't open them up because there's a lot of food here, but I always serve the salad with dolmadias. And if you buy dolmadias, I would get the ones made in Greece and not China. So much better. I've never actually made dolmadias. This little tin is $3.99, but you know, that makes it a nice compliment to what we did here today. It's just a pop a tin of dolmadias. They're stuffed grape leaves. Maybe one day I'll attempt to make them, but right now they're just way too hard. You know, it's just too time consuming.
Mike, is there anything specifically, somebody's asked for the recipe for the baked feta. Seems like it's 4 sheets of phyllo, a lot of butter.
Yes, it's a lot of butter. But we're all locked in from COVID, so we're wearing stretchy clothes. The butter's fine. We don't have to get dressed and go anywhere anymore. Have some butter. Come on.
Can't ever have too much butter.
Do
Lots of butter. Can't ever have too much butter.
There you go. I released a video to make this today on the Cooking with Gunther's channel. If you want to know how to do it, I'll give Peggy the recipe, but it's just 4 layers of phyllo with butter, feta, wrap it up, and then just honey and sesame seeds. It's those 4 ingredients. That's it. If you don't like feta that much, use the Saganaki cheese. It will be gooier. It will be better. I think I referenced this to be similar to baked brie, wrapped baked brie. But if you do a brie, I would do like a mango chutney in there and wrap it. But as I've stated, this is better than a baked brie because it's feta. And feta is better than brie, and I will fight any one of you all on that, okay? So we'll just go to there.
All right, so I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. and it looks like you're about ready to partake.
This is much better than it was 25 years ago. I mean, they figured out how to make red Cena where it doesn't taste like pine tar. It is not a bad wine. On a day like today, I'm looking out my front door now. It's bright, it's beautiful. You've got a nice Greek salad, a bottle of red Cena. I don't think you can beat it. So yeah, if you figure out where I live and there's still a glass left, I'll share it with you.
I know where you live.
There you go.
If you had to pick your most favorite Greek recipe to cook, what's your favorite Greek food?
I like pasticcio. It's noodles, and then it's a seasoned beef noodles with a bechamel on top. I like it better than moussaka. I've made them both. Pasticcio is easier. They're both time consuming as can be to make. I like a good gyro, but you have to have a really good tzatziki sauce. That takes the draining of the yogurt for 2 or 3 days. But you just can't use yogurt. You have to drain it and make it nice and thick. A lot of garlic. I like a good pasticcio. Like for Easter, we're gonna do a baked lamb leg. Oh,
Gunther's Gourmet.
Our Easter is next month, so we'll do a baked lamb leg. We'll do a leg of lamb. We'll do roasted potatoes and carrots. We'll do a spanakopita. It depends on what I make because I'm the chef in the family. We'll do a cheesecake is basically Greek as well. And if you get on my Facebook page, you can see everything that I make that's Greek. We'll do pasticcio, spanakopita, baked leg of lamb. We'll do the Greek green beans, and then we'll do the orzo too. I like the orzo. It's a tomato dish. And again, I'm going to start making all this stuff. If y'all have any questions, I guess Peggy can give you my email address. I can tell you or email you what you need to know. Those are my favorite dishes right there.
Whoa, getting some feedback from some folks. So one student has asked, where are you a chef now? But you're not.
I guess I'm always a chef. I went to culinary school. I got my CEC, which is my certified executive chef. I went through all that. I make that stuff back there. It's called Gunther's Gourmet. I'm basically a desk jockey now. I push paper and I make calls and I try to sell salsa. And so the joke is I'm a Greek guy out of the mid-Atlantic making a Southwestern food with a company named after a German dog because Gunther's my dog. So it's kind of the American story, the melting pot of America is that's what we do. And so I don't think there's a rhyme or reason. I started the company because I don't think things through properly before I do anything. I just thought it would be a cool idea. And 20 years later, I'm still stuffing tomatoes in a jar. And that's what you can do with a poli-sci Soc degree, international relations and criminology minor at U of R, is shove tomatoes in a jar for a living and eat Greek food in front of you all while y'all can't touch any of it. So I feel bad that I can't share this with you because it is really good.
Well,
so that's where I'm a chef now, is I created all those flavors.
Go ahead, eat in front of us.
Oh, the salad's good. I gotta try the salad. I wanted to try the dressing on the salad. It's really good. It is really good. It's a nice bite with the lemon juice. It's fresh with the cucumber. Tomatoes are pretty good. This is going to be better when you get good Hanover tomatoes.
So just one other comment, and I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat, but just a reminder that Mike is a beekeeper and he will be teaching again this summer on July 13th. And he will be giving us a primer on beekeeping. So we're going to change it up a little in July. That ought to be a lot of fun. So with that, there it is.
So I harvest my honey from each hive individually. I don't mix them all together. And you can see the different color of the wax that comes from the hive and the different color of the honey that comes from the hive. It's kind of a fat.
Sorry.
Where can you buy your honey?
You can't. I just do it as a hobby. I've got enough problems in my life to sell honey. I make my own bacon too from scratch. Okay, I do, but I've got to keep a hobby a hobby. The salsas used to be a hobby, and now they became a job. And you know, cooking was a hobby, and then when it became a job, it becomes a lot more difficult. The beekeeping is my little thing that I do at home to get outside, to enjoy the nature, and you know, it's fascinating. And hopefully, when I do this with the beekeeping, I'm going to set this setup out in my driveway, and there's a beehive right behind me, so the bees will be flying back and forth. I have a beehive on my front porch, so that's my security system. If you don't want to, where you live, then. It's just right on the front porch, and at 4 o'clock every day, they all come out and do like a cleansing flight. So there's a big haze of bees, and by 4:15, they're all back in their hive. It's kind of interesting.
Fun. Well, we will look forward to that. And with that, I'm going to say thank you to everyone for joining us, and special thanks, Mike. It was really a lot of fun.
I hope so. I feel really bad that we're not together, because Peggy knows that when we do a class together, you get hands-on, you get to eat, you get to taste. So, but thank you for joining with us. I appreciate your time. And if you need anything, just email. We'll take care of you.
Thanks, Jeff. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bravo.